Welcome everyone to the LPEA Candidate Forum. The goal of the club Zoom lunch is to bring together Democrats from the most conservative to the most progressive to celebrate our shared values, appreciate who we are and work together to put more Democrats in office. I'd like to acknowledge our club lunch sponsor, Albrecht Law Firm here in Durango. They've been supporting us for several years. So today we will hear from 8 of the 9 candidates for La Plata Electric Board of Directors. Candidate Dave Peters, running for District 3, is not participating. The ballots are going to go out April 21st. The deadline to return them is 4 p.m. on May 20th, and then the next morning is the LPEA Annual Meeting. The candidates will each have 2 minutes for opening statements. Then we'll move to prepared questions. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer each question. I know that sounds short, but there's 8 candidates. We have a lot to get through. We're going to ask 4 questions, and I have an extra if we have extra time. And then if an audience question hasn't been asked, we may have time at the end. So put your question in the chat. I put the list of candidates in the chat. For District 1, we have Holly Metzler, Dusty Mars. District 2 is Greg Barber, Brad Blake, and Terry Greiner. Is it Greiner or Greiner? Terry?
Sorry, I had audio muted. It's Greiner.
Greiner. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
The city of Durango, District 3, is the incumbent Joe Lewandowski and Dave Peters. And then District 4 is John Witchel and Lyle McKnight. So everyone's asked to stay muted except for whoever's speaking and myself, since I'm asking a lot of questions. If you want to submit a question different from the ones we're asking, go ahead and put it in the chat. And please do not unmute yourself and speak, but use the chat. Make sure you send your questions to everyone in the chat window. If you're having trouble with internet connectivity, you may want to disable your video. Audio only works better on slow connections. The Zoom meeting is being recorded. It will be available within a day or two for viewing on our YouTube channel. You just put La Plata Democrats in the YouTube search bar and it'll come up. If you want a larger video of the person speaking, open the top right corner of your box. You can choose the speaker mode and click on that. And the speaker will show as a big box and everyone else will be small. I would like to encourage everyone to donate to the county Dems in these important times so we can accumulate funds ahead of our need. We have so many candidates. I'll intro them here while putting a bigger intro into the chat. You can read it as we go. Dusty Mars is running in District 1, Archuleta County. He says LPEA needs someone who understands energy, infrastructure, and the needs of the community. His career has been in nuclear, petroleum, and power supply engineering. Dusty understands the challenges ahead as coal plants close, electric vehicle adoption grows, and new technologies emerge. Holly Metzler is the incumbent in Archuleta County. Holly is focused on understanding the rural electric co-op business, past and future, for 6 years on the board. She's been the LPEA representative to the Colorado Rural Electric Association for 5 years. Greg Barber is running in District 2. He will work with the LPEA staff to achieve LPEA's goals. He's a retired CPA with over 45 years of experience. Brad Blake is also running in District 2. He has experience in both private and public sectors and is committed to LPEA's long-term success. He was a La Plata County Commissioner for 1 term. He will prioritize safe, reliable, and affordable power while ensuring transparency. Terry Greiner is also running in District 2. Did I get it wrong already? Greiner.
Sorry.
I should write that down. Terry Greiner is also running in District 2. So there's 3 people running for that south side and west La Plata County. Greg says LPEA directors have a colossal task in balancing the multitude of factors to stay within LPEA's mission. He sees an opportunity to join the board to help it remain on its current path and has the business experience to do this. Dave Peters is not here. I'll put his bio in the chat and you can read that. Joe Lewandowski is the incumbent for District 3, which is the city of Durango. Joe wants to serve a third term to help drive the co-op's positive momentum towards independence and to embrace new clean energy sources. One of his favorite sayings is think globally, act locally. Joe says the future of our power supply lies in continual innovation, and now is the time to continue moving forward. Lyle McKnight, who I'm not sure is on here yet. Don't see him. Anyway, if he shows up, he's running for District 4, which is North and East La Plata County. And he started his own motorcycle dealership, the Fun Center, Route 160, in 1992. Over the years, he grew the dealership into the largest and most successful power sports store in the region with multiple locations. He's made executive decisions, created business plans, and understands how to put together budgets to make sure money is spent efficiently and effectively. And last candidate, John Witchel, he's the incumbent in that District 4. He says LPEA is well run and financially stable thanks to the incredible staff and leadership team. They have a balanced budget, dependable leadership, low-cost electricity, and an increasingly clean energy supply. Lowering your electric bill and building renewables and fire mitigation are his top priorities. So we're going to do opening statements, and then we'll do Q&A. I put my note here says randomized order, but I'm just going to, the way I introduced you, we'll start with that. And then maybe Kirby can figure out a randomized way to do the questions. So that would be Dusty, you're the first one, and then Holly Metzler, then Greg Barber. And you have each 2 minutes. Go ahead, Dusty.
Thanks. Again, thank you guys for setting this up. It's a great opportunity, I think, for people to hear the differences between everyone and see what's going on and get to kind of hear more in depth about LPEA board and how everything's working there. I've been asked to run by several members in the community and even some people that are currently on the board. I think it's because my background kind of fits the position. I've got a lot of engineering experience in different power projects, most heavily in project management, where you're having to plan and forecast out when things are done, look at contracts, make sure things are appropriate for the long term and the short term. And the other strength that I think I've acquired over that would be beneficial to this position is being able to kind of filter down and compare apples to apples with our data and some of the public information that goes out, and just really be able to make an educated decision and also be able to communicate that in a way that people can understand real well. I think that's what I bring to the table primarily is just that communication piece and being able to filter down pretty complex agreements that LPEA is going to be getting into over the next couple of years. There's a lot of folks that are real concerned about the dependability that we've had through LPEA has been great, and a lot of that has come through a real stable supply contract. And as we exited that, it's critical that we have some assurance that we're not getting into something that we're going to regret further on down the road. I have a big power bill. I spend up to $3,000 a month during the summer to run the farm. So I'm heavily invested, and I've been here forever. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to kind of serve the community in this way that fits my background. So thanks for the time.
All right, maybe just turn your alarm down a little bit. That's pretty jarring. Holly Metzler, you're next.
Hello, thank you for organizing this today, and I'm really appreciative of everybody who is in attendance. I think our strongest power system is going to be with a more educated membership. So thanks for everybody who is here today. My name is Holly Leanne Metzler, and it is my deep honor to be here with you all today as a candidate for the Board of Directors, La Plata Electric Association, District 1. For the past 6 years, the electric grid, both what it has been and what I think it could be, has been a primary focus in my life. So I am very proud to say that I do believe that LPEA is building a pathway to a much more resilient and affordable energy future. There has been a ton of work and dedication that has been put into this decision and to take this path, but it is always one that I would vote for again. I am running for a third term as an LPEA director for District 1, so I can continue this hard work and apply all of the lessons that I have learned while helping to build a resilient and affordable pathway. Vote Holly Metzler for District 1 LPEA.
All right, thank you, Holly. Greg Barber, you're next, and after that will be Brad Blake.
Great. Thank you, Karen, and good afternoon, everybody. We're in changing times for our electric co-op. LPA has made decisions in the past that have put us on a new path for the future. It is more important than ever to have solid leadership in the board of directors. I believe experience in the utility industry in these changing times is critical to the success of the co-op. Experience matters. I spent the last 14 years of my career working as a CPA for a large utility, providing a full complement of utility services, including electricity, to over 1 million customers. I am very familiar with finances, member services, regulation, and operations of a utility, and the rigor it takes to provide safe and reliable services. In talking with other members of LPA, there are a number of issues that were brought up. Affordability. With new rates coming into effect April 1st, there's been a lot of confusion as to what is driving our rates to increase and whether there is more to come. Tariffs. The federal government is implementing higher tariffs that will directly affect our costs and ultimately cause supply chain issues. Grants. Many federal grants have been slashed. LPEA relies on some of them for our rebate programs and tri-state. The board must hold LPA management accountable to provide clarity and transparency as to why these things happened and what is the strategy for the future. It must be laser focused on keeping operating capital costs in check. We must stay within our budgets, assuming we get more affordable rates, all the while providing a higher member services. We have the opportunity to elect strong leadership. We need directors with experience in the utility industry to help to navigate through these changing times. Experience matters. I'd appreciate your vote for the new District 2 director. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next, we'll hear from Brad Blake for District 2. You have to unmute. It's okay.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for this forum this morning. I appreciate it. I love living in Southwest Colorado. I'll kind of go back through my bio just a little bit, but I grew up here. My family's been here for generations, and I love living in Southwest Colorado. My biggest accomplishment here in Southwest Colorado is really my family. I love my family. Been married for 41 years. I've known my wife since second grade. She went to Mason Elementary School. I went to Needham Elementary School. So we met long about second grade. But I really do find all things power interesting. Have been following LPEA for a long time. And I do feel like as far as seeking a board position, it really is all about community. I feel like we need to support our community. I've been lucky enough to have 3 successful businesses here in the community, and am currently working on a housing project for local workforce housing. One of the things that drives me is really seeing that we have a great workforce and helping in the community. Having owned several businesses, it's hard to find people who can afford to live and work here in La Plata County. And one of the big things that people run up against is the cost of living. Many people cannot afford their power bills, and I'm sure that they're seeing it down at LPEA. My goal would be to make sure that we have good diversity in our power, all of the above power, and I appreciate the opportunity to run and ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad, right on time. Next is Terry Greiner. And then after that, Joe Lewandowski.
Good afternoon. It is afternoon. I'm Terry Greiner. My background is business oriented in both the hardware and software industry. I believe that the direction of the LPEA board is on track. I believe Chris Hansen was a outstanding hire. He brings his academic, his legislative, and his field work into our co-op. I do believe that we need reliable and affordable energy. And as I said, I believe the board is on track to deliver that. One thing I do believe that can be an enhancement above and beyond the knowledge that we have on the board currently is to look, and I would say, I hate to use the term, but outside the box slightly. And that is to look at the data that is already collected by LPEA. Where does that reside? Is it structured? Is it unstructured? What can we do with that in order to apply possibly some data analysis tools, some artificial intelligence in order to allow management to make what-if decisions? What if somebody runs into a substation? What if we adopt significant number of EVs, et cetera? What does that do to the grid? Wrapping up, I would say.
Uh-oh. Terry, I don't know if you can
Believe
hear
I'm
me.
the best candidate. I don't have
There
it
you are. Oh.
failed. Now here it comes back again. Thank you, Kirby.
Terry, your speaking froze for a couple times. So if it continues that way, we'll just have you lose your video and
Okay,
keep the audio.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Karen.
All right. Next would be Joe Lewandowski, and then Lyle McKnight if he shows up, and John Witchel. So Joe.
Thanks for organizing this. My personal philosophy is summed up in this statement: think globally, act locally. I've lived in Colorado for 50 years, 20 in Durango, and I've always worked on issues that serve to better the communities I've lived in. In Durango, I served for 15 years on the City Planning Commission, and my aim was always for the greater good. And that's the same reason I've served for 6 years on the LPEA board and seek to serve another term, for the greater good. We're all going to get cleaner and power at a lower cost. We have no choice but to do our small local part in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's a global imperative. And that's why what we're doing by leaving Tri-State. Fortunately, we're able to do that at a cost well below what we're now paying Tri-State. LPEA now has access to a variety of power sources that are clean, reliable, and competitively priced. On April 1, 2026, LPEA's power costs will drop immediately by 10%, a savings estimated at $7 million per year. That's just one good reason to leave Tri-State. The other major reason is that LPEA is no longer tied to Tri-State's more than $3 billion pile of debt. We know for a fact that Tri-State must raise its power rates significantly to cover that debt, and those increases must be passed on to individual members. But LPEA won't have to do that. Yes, we're borrowing money to terminate our contract, but we know the savings realized from lower power costs will cover that debt. And with independence, LPEA will be able to continue moving ahead, providing clean, reliable, and affordable power to its members.
Thank you, Joe. Right on time. Lyle McKnight hasn't shown up yet. He is running for District 4, but the incumbent in District 4, our last opening statement is from John Witchel.
Great. Good morning or afternoon, and thanks very much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to sit in on this and organize it. So I've been on the board for 5 years. I spent 2 years of that as the board president. Prior to that, I had done 3 years as on the board of Animas High School. I've been in the Durango since 2009 when I moved here with my family. We live in Animas Valley and plan to spend the rest of my life here because I love it. I think there are basically 3 issues that really are front and center today. Number one is keeping our cost of energy low in the area. Today, we actually have a pretty low cost of energy relative to other parts of the country. And so it's important that we keep it that way because we have a very wide range of economic we have a wide range of people with different economic situations, and so it's very important to keep our energy costs low. We've done a very good job so far. I'd like to continue to do that job and continue to keep our eye on that ball. Number 2, I think reliability is important. Reliability gets thrown around a lot and people aren't real specific about it. To me, reliability means 2 top level things. Number 1, continued focus on fire mitigation. And a large forest fire can do extraordinary damage to lives and property, and we need to stay focused. And the truth is that in other parts of the country, in California, we have places where they've done a lot of damage by mismanaging fire mitigation. And the second piece of it is, of course, uptime, making sure that LPA continues to have terrific uptime. We've had some of the best uptime in the past 10 years. And I think we can continue to stay focused on that. And then the third one is sustainability. I am the CEO of King Energy. We are solar developers, and I would like to continue to see us build not just solar in the area, but batteries, as well as take advantage of our geothermal opportunities in the area, which more to come on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Our first question, I'm putting it in the chat. And we're going to start right off with the big one. Do you think LPEA made the best decision leaving Tri-State? Why or why not? And what do you see as the future of LPEA's power supply? So we're only giving you 90 seconds to answer all the questions, and I know that's short, but I'm sure you all have a position on this already. And I'll start with Holly, and then Greg, Brad, Terry, and Joe and John. We'll go. I'll just start with a different person. We'll go down in the same order because randomizing this is crazy. So Holly, I know you're ready to answer this question.
Great, thank you for the question. Absolutely, I do believe that we made the right decision to exit our tri-state contract. It was not done willy-nilly. It was 5 years of hard work and dedication, researching, the staff analyzing, the board were looking at everything. At one point it was a 3-prong strategy to do so. And, at each point, each prong looked promising. In the end, I do believe this is the right decision because we're bringing our decision local making, and we're not going to be tied to a 41-person board and whatever their decisions are ultimately. It will come into our local decision making. So yes, I do believe that decision was sound. What do I see as the future of LPEA's power supply? I personally really like to look at the resilience that's inherent in having more demand side management and distributed energy technologies within our footprint. That's what I personally like to be more resilient and more affordable.
Karen, you're muted.
Oh, Greg Barber, you're next. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Karen. For me, I can't second guess LPA's decision to terminate the tri-state agreement. But if elected, what I can do is hold management accountable for the items promised from terminating that agreement. And the first one was lower power costs. It seems that the contracts that they've signed with Mercuria are going to get us there in the short term, but I'm more interested in the long term. And if they can continue that um, track record of lowering our wholesale power costs and reducing our risk of going out to the market to get it. The second thing is they wanted to take advantage of local power sources. And I think we need to keep their feet to the fire to say, yes, then that's what you need to do, is go to local generators and provide the jobs in our region and get our power sources from that. And then lastly, increase renewable energy opportunities. I think that was a big promise from the termination of the agreement, and I think they need to make good on that promise and do better and more renewables. Thank you.
All right. Brad Blake, same question.
Great. I guess my position is it remains to be seen. I can tell you that the people that I talk to on a daily basis in the community really felt like there was no transparency with that buyout. They are still shocked and amazed. Even the biggest users, like the hospital, the county, the towns and cities, they just didn't understand the buyout and realize the increase in rates were going to happen, even causing some real budgetary problems. I am a fan of all of the above power. I believe that we need to look at all of the above. Geothermal is phenomenal, and all along, keeping in mind that really helping those who can least afford it is the most important goal that we should have. I am a big fan and have been out and about in the community talking to the tribe, the county, the cities in regards to waste to power possibilities. And that would help greatly with methane in our landfills. And I believe that that is an option. It's not the solution. It's not going to create all the power that we need, but there are some good benefits to that. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Terry Greiner.
Hello. Yes, I agree that leaving Tri-State was the best option that LPE had. We're not tied to one source of generation. Actually, I think it was 95% source of generation. There's one significant transmission that I believe hits the western part of town. Now that we have moved away from Tri-State, we have the ability, as others have mentioned, for local generation. Buying on the commodity market where we have flexibility on pricing. As I understand, the PPAs that have been signed, 30% will be coming from Tri-State initially, 30% to 40% via the contract with Mercuria. But again, it leads us to the ability to source from the market at the best price. I would like maybe to correct Blake when he said it was a buyout from LPEA. It wasn't a buyout, it was a separation, and we would have owed that money to Tri-State because they had spent that money on LPEA's behalf. So it's not a buyout, and I think using those terms adds to a lot of the confusion in the community that for some reason we're spending a lot of money to move away from the one supplier. With that, I'll wrap up.
Thank you. Joe Lewandowski and then John.
Yes, I absolutely believe we did the right thing. As I noted in my opening comments, Tri-State is in serious financial difficulty, and they don't talk about that because they're a business in itself and they're trying to figure it out. But they've got themselves in a real bind, and with that debt, that's a stranglehold on them. And they're going to, we know for sure that they're going to have to be raising rates significantly because, as we all know, if you have debt, you have to pay back that debt. There's a comment in the paper this weekend that the government is going to give them a bunch of money. That's not true. They are getting a loan from the federal government that will add probably another $1 and $1.5 billion of debt to their balance sheet. So that's $4 billion of debt. By making this move, we're done with that. We don't have to deal with Tri-State's debt. As far as the future, our staff has been studying alternative sources for, gosh, over 2 years now. And all the indications are that, you know, power supply costs from alternative sources and regional sources and entering a regional transmission organization, we're going to be paying, you know, everything shows very clearly that we're going to have less, the costs are going down and we're going to get lean power, and the staff is also very concentrated on efficiency and innovation. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. And now John Witchel.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna double down on one of Joe's comments. It's hard to overstate how much trouble Tri-State's in financially. They were downgraded by the credit rating agencies twice in the last 2 years, by Fitch and S&P 500. They've lost 35% of their revenue because of departures from Tri-State. No organization can survive those kinds of dramatic changes, and they're borrowing an enormous amount of money to try to keep afloat. If we had stayed with Tri-State, we would get dragged down with them, as almost certainly their remaining co-op customers will. I think turning to the more positive side of things, it just made economic sense. Plain and simple. It just made economic sense. And we're already seeing the benefits of that, and we haven't even completed the departure yet. Today, because of the departure, we can now build out this Sunnyside solar farm that we started to do. That's terrific, and we're super happy that we're going to be able to add a lot of additional solar power there. Those of you that don't know, the Vallecito Hydro Project, which is partially owned by the Pine River Irrigation District, sells their power to Tri-State. They mark it up and sell it back to us. Now we can buy that power directly. The Pine River Irrigation District is going to make more money, and our members are going to see greater savings because of it. And then finally, we're already seeing a 10% reduction in our aggregate cost of energy, the energy that Tri-State was selling us. Thank you.
Excellent. I didn't know about the hydro project. Well, I hadn't been paying attention. Let's put it that way.
It's awesome.
I had heard about it, and that sounds really good.
When the details come out, it's going to be fantastic.
Dusty Mars.
Thanks. So yeah, the hydro project, I'll just pick up off of that and continue. There's a meeting being held by those members that get to actually participate and vote in that decision being made. And I think that's kind of the difference of what I've been asked to run, is because the members that participate in this co-op feel like they're not getting the same opportunities that we get in every other board that we participate with, and other boards that I've been a part of. We're very heavily reliant on membership input, and I feel a lot of the members telling me that they didn't get any input into this. So was it a good decision to leave Tri-State? We should know that as members. That information should be readily available and known really well. And it's tough to say whether I support it or not unless I saw all those details. I do appreciate the information being given by the current board members now. Those details would have been great to have back when we were making the decision last March. So again, we'll see how it goes, and I think it's an exciting future, and it's another reason, that I got asked to run, is that I've worked with these power development options. I'm on boards that are already participating in supplying some of the power that we could be turning towards. And again, that reliability for me is, there's a lot of value that's lost anytime a center pivot doesn't run through the night. So it's having the power there at constantly. So any interruptions like we've seen, power experiments recently that have failed. There's several other co-ops that have experienced real high rate increases. And I don't know the specifics there, other than I was asked to reach out towards them. And then just to finish up, well, we all saw the disaster that Texas went through on their power grid when they tried to supply their own power. So thanks for the time.
All right, thanks. Next, I'll read the question. It's in the chat, and we'll start with Greg, Barber, Brad, and then Terry, and go down the list again. So how does good governance factor into co-op management? And what does it look like for you as a board member? And the other question for the non-incumbents is, have you personally attended an LPEA board meeting, either in person or virtually? So we'll start with Greg Barber.
All right, thanks, Karen. So good governance is really imperative to running a co-op. My experience, 14 years it was an investor-owned utility. And one of the things that's very exciting to me to be a part of LPEA is it's a co-op and it's run by its members. And I think that management really needs to start being a little more clear, have more clarity, have more transparency so that members know what's going on. And I think that's part of a director's job as well. I think they have to reach out to the members in their district, make sure they're informed as what's going on. There's a number of news releases that come from LPEA, but they need to be on top of that. I myself have not personally attended a board meeting, but I've attended the last 4 Finance and Audit Committee meetings and listened in as to what's happening to the co-op through more financial needs. My background as a CPA, it's more natural for me to listen and see what's going on and be able to understand what's happening to our little co-op. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Brad Blake, same question.
I'll start off with, yes, I have attended many meetings over the years, and I think really good governance comes from diversity of thought. Having served as a county commissioner, one of the highest boards in our local area, making decisions that affect people's lives every day, I think it is good to have great diversity of thought on those boards and really remember who we are working for. There's a great book that talks about agendas and how that relates to institutions that we serve in. And a lot of times if we have agendas that blind us from what really helps people that we're working for and who we're working for, it hurts those folks. And I would agree, transparency is one of the big things that I hear people talking about. We have to remember that higher power bills hurt the poorest among us. If our power rates actually go down, it'll help the poorest. It'll help the farmers and ranchers. It'll help our people that work and live here in La Plata County that we're having a hard time retaining. If you talk to businesses here in town, their biggest problem is local workers. Thank you.
That is a true thing. Terry Greiner?
Yes, governance is significant. There is a significant amount of diversity currently on the board. Chris Hansen, again, is an excellent CEO with his background. As I had mentioned in my opening statement, the ability to tap in to the data that has been collected is significant in guiding the governance. What information can be provided is, again, what happens in a what-if scenario. We're in changing times. What if we have severe weather events above and beyond what we've had? What if we lose transmission? Currently, our only connection to tri-state. What if legislation moves us in a particular direction that we weren't ready to move in. If we have, again, good governance with the significant amount of information that we can provide them with some tools, then that governance would just be better and better. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Terry. Joe and then John.
Yeah, having been on the board for 6 years, I can attest that, and having been on many other boards, that we govern in a very open format. We, more than any other co-op, we're praised around the country because our meetings are recorded. You can watch our meetings on Zoom. You can participate and offer comments. That was not the case 10 years ago when people started paying attention to what was going on. As far as transparency, we have been talking about this leaving Tri-State for probably a decade. And it has been discussed over and over again in meetings, and every year there is an election, and who has stepped up to run for those seats? Some people have, some people haven't. And as far as transparency, go to our website, look at the Check the Facts website. We're also, we are a business. We can't always say exactly what we're paying for power here or there at this point, because we would not have vendors to deal with, because these vendors are in a competitive situation and they don't want their prices out there. So yes, is there something that happens in executive session? For sure, but I will defend our transparency to the end.
Thank you, Joe. John Witchel.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Joe again on this. Look, I mean, just to sort of walk down the facts here, because this whole idea that we're not being transparent is a total false narrative, right? It crops its head up every election cycle and then it disappears as soon as the election is open. All of our meetings are recorded. They're all public. All of our board packets are on the website. All of our financials are public. All of our meeting minutes are public. We have an annual member meeting in public, right? Chris does a dozen coffee meet and greets all around the district, right? All of our board members are out and about. Chris writes op-ed pieces. The idea that we're hiding or not sharing information is frankly, it's preposterous, right? Look at the facts on the ground. We are still a commercial organization. We have to engage in commercial contracts, and this recurrent idea that somehow or another we should be publicly sharing the minutia of a negotiation is absurd. You would never ever ask a publicly traded company to behave that way. You would never ask any organization to share the play-by-play during a complex legal negotiation or litigation, right? We are as transparent as any organization could possibly be. And this idea that somehow or another we're hiding something is absurd.
Thank you, John. The next question will be, what?
Go to the top.
Oh, God. Anyway, I put the next question in and I forgot to go back to Dusty and Holly. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Now everybody can see the next question. Dusty and Holly, you're answering about good governance.
I think I go first. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. I think I think that's a lot of what the issue was. I don't think anyone feels that the board is really hiding anything. It's just that we're not able to put the apples to apples together as members, and all of the other boards that so let me answer the other question. I have attended board meetings. There are a lot of the meetings that are they go to executive session. We're not able to see or even hear what the outcomes of those were. There's a summary provided, but a lot of and it doesn't have to be specifics. It could be just generalizations of this is what was considered and this is what we're still out on the table to trying to decide. And I think that's more of what people in this area are used to for board meetings. We have ditch board meetings that I participate in. There's several school board meetings, there's always time for executive session. We understand that, but there's generally a lot more disclosure about kind of where the summary is of where we're going and where we're headed. So I do appreciate all the work the board has done. I think they've done a great job in trying to get this initiated. And I don't think that anybody's necessarily hiding anything. They've been pretty transparent. It's just, we always just tend to hear one side of the coin. And so when you go to a board meeting where Tri-State is there and they're showing you how they're going to be 80% green and they show all these numbers and they talk about how their billions of dollars is going to be taken care of. And then from our board, which we're a member of Tri-State, right? So only we're one member out of 42,000, whereas with Tri-State, we're one member out of 41. So I think we'd have a bigger voice. Anyway, governance is key, and I think that's why we're all interested in running. Thanks.
All right, and Holly, on that question.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'm not going to rehash the comments about transparency because I do believe that we do work very hard to include stakeholders in our decision-making process, and it's a challenge consistently. But I do want to double down on what Brad Blake said about good governance coming down to diversity of thought. You know, this was actually a really huge concept for me. I developed a hypothesis in 2020 related to diversity in thought and how important it is to mitigate risk in our governance structures. And quite honestly, if you look at our panel of candidates, out of 9 of them, I am the only female. And I find that that is prevalent across the entire REA governance structure. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that being female makes me smarter or makes me more talented or makes me have, you know, whatever, but it does right out of the gate give me a different perspective on things. So yes, good governance is vitally important. Diversity of thought is absolutely important. And I am so blessed that, you know, in my past, I've studied social sciences and I apply that all the time to this particular thought, and absolutely super important topic for me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Holly. All right, the next question will start with Brad and then go to Terry. The question is, what's your experience in energy or electricity? Some of you covered it, I know, but do you believe that fossil fuels contribute to the climate changes we are experiencing? And Brad.
So I have been in the solar business, owned a startup solar company here locally. Actually, Canisto Companies has built the sunny side and the megawatt generation, solar generation for the tribe. That company did both of those projects. So I have been a big supporter. I have what I call a very nice solar system on my home. I'm a big supporter of it. I do believe that climate change is real. How much we contribute to it still remains to be seen. I do believe that there is room for other types of energy and power, like nuclear, like natural gas. There are many places for these type of generation stations, and I appreciate looking into all of those. Again, I am supporting waste to power projects here locally because our landfill is at its life in 5 years, and we better find something to do with trash instead of just shove it in a canyon somewhere. I'm a huge supporter of environmental causes that help our environment. I think this is a big one that we could really get behind as the local co-op. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brad. Terry Greiner.
Through my 35 years, career years, working with hardware and software vendors that were specifically focused on transmission companies, many other commodity companies, manufacturers of hardware, but there was a significant focus on the industry. much like the co-op that we have here. Those products helped those organizations monitor, manage, and maintain those systems. So I'm very familiar and have deep dive information in regards to how those systems are brought to management to consider, how they're implemented, and what they actually bring to an organization. Those have been, I've got a 30-second paddle. Those have been small community co-ops, but they've also been multinational companies as well. Schlumberger, AB&B, Valero, to name a few, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips. A lot of those are fossil fuel companies. You'd asked about my belief if climate change is caused by the burning of fossil fuels. Yes, I do believe that they, then I got to stop.
Okay, so yeah.
I'm obeying the rules, Karen, so I'm sorry.
So Holly is out in Archuleta County, and you notice we don't see Holly Metzler anymore. She said lightning hit and her power is down. Oh, here she's coming back. Maybe she's on her phone. So it's good. We're getting thunderstorms, which is a good thing. Holly, can you hear?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
Okay, so next, you just missed Terry Greiner's answer, and the next one is Joe, then John.
Yeah,
Joe,
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that if anyone believes that we're not contributing to climate change, please don't vote for me. I'm a fly fisherman, I'm a skier, and the pooter is running, or not the pooter, I'm sorry, the Animus is running at, I think it's 40% of what it was running at 20 years ago when I arrived. That's certainly a big flag for me. My experience in energy has all been on LPEA board. I was trained as a journalist. I was a journalist for 25 years. And my role, in diversity of thought on the board is I ask a lot of questions because there's a lot I don't know. And that's what I think, my biggest contribution is and will continue to be.
alrighty, thank you. That would be John Witchel, you're next.
Sure, thank you. So a couple of comments. So as far as experience goes, just to sort of run it down the numbers, I did 3 years on the board of directors of the Colorado Solar and Storage Association, 5 years on the board of directors of Wonder Capital, which is a solar finance company. I did 3 years at Solar City as an employee. I've done 5 years at King Energy building solar, and I've done 5 years at LPEA, of which 2 of them I was serving as the board president. So I've been doing this for a while. I'm pretty experienced both as a board of director and in the energy space itself. I unfortunately is not here, but I think it's worth talking about bluntly. My opponent, Lyle McKnight, is a climate denier. Right? He does not believe that climate change is a natural phenomenon. He's posted that multiple times on his Facebook site. I have an example of it up on my screen that I'm happy to share with the group if you'll let me screen share. But what he wrote was climate change is just a natural phenomenon that's been going on since Earth first formed, and it's being exaggerated and exploited by people with financial and emotional investments. What if it's all about money and power and not the common good? He is not mainstream. He is an extreme climate denier, and you can't have somebody like that on the board. It's just an outrageous position in the year 2025. Thank you.
Thanks for that insight, John. That's the kind of thing I think people need to know. It's just a basic fact, and if he's put it in writing, maybe, yeah. So next we have Dusty Mars and Holly and Greg. And Holly, the question I reposted, what's your experience in energy or electricity do you believe that fossil fuels contribute to the climate changes we're experiencing? But first is Dusty.
Thanks. I've kind of posted all my background in energy. It's pretty diverse. I started off as a nuclear engineer. I helped in the petroleum industry for several years, and then I also got into facilities development, where we engage with the local utilities to convert a lot of natural gas burning projects into electrified projects. And we're talking megawatt projects. They were big, substantial. I had about a $50 million a year budget that we were allocating specifically to those kinds of projects. As far as the fossil fuels contributing to climate changes, so that's something that I was really heavily interested in. And one of the reasons I pursued engineering was because growing up as a kid, we were told that petroleum's dying, it's going away. Don't even think about it. Nobody's going to even be burning gasoline in 10 years. You don't even have to worry about that. And so I think what we've seen is a lot of catastrophizing of what fossil fuels are really doing. We know that at 200 parts per million of CO2 are in our atmosphere, plants can't survive. We're at 400 parts per million right now, which sounds like a lot, but considering in the past that we've been at like 3,000 parts per million CO2, it's tough to categorize what the amount of change is and how much of that we are driving and what the effect of it is going to be long term. Now, does that mean that I should go to my neighbor, a widow who's living on $1,500 a month Social Security and just got her rent up to $1,200 a month, say, hey, the environment's dying, you got to pay more for your electric bill? It's a tough one for me, you know. So that's kind of where I come in on all of it. Thanks for the time.
Okay. And Holly, that same question.
Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, I don't think the affordability and working to address climate change have to be diametrically opposed to one another. So as far as my energy experience, truly, I have a lifelong love of learning, and I especially love science of all types. My background includes a Bachelor of Science in Biology and a Master of Science in Environmental Policy. So while I was working on my master's, the social sciences, as I've already indicated, was something that I looked at a lot. Social science provides insights into motivations, aspirations, community dynamics. And I believe that that is really important for a diversified board. And I incorporate it regularly in my work at the statewide level. And what I'm going to tell you is at the statewide level, most of them don't believe that climate change is caused by fossil fuel production or burning. And personally, I absolutely do. I do think we have to continue to address climate change impacts and pollution impacts. And it's not only carbon dioxide in the air, but it's also forever chemicals in our water. And the exposures are creating health hazards, and it's just going to exponentially continue to get more expensive as we go on until we deal with this stuff.
All right. Thank you, Holly. Greg Barber, you last.
All right, thanks, Karen. Yes, I have experience in energy and electricity. In my opening comments, I mentioned 14 years with a large electric utility, but also I had 13 years in the oil and gas business before that. Traveled many times to the Four Corners area, and with that job, and learned a lot about the processing of crude oils and fossil fuels. That leads me into, yes, I believe fossil fuels do contribute to climate change, but what I'm more concerned about is the regulation that comes from that. The state of Colorado and the federal EPA are now putting standards on us as a utility to get rid of the greenhouse gases. Those regulations, as they keep coming from our regulators and politicians, will get to be more and more onerous on us. So I think we have to stay ahead of it. I know LPEA management is well aware of these new standards, but it's something to keep our eye on and make sure that we comply with. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. And John has posted a couple things that Lyle McKnight posted on social media, which Now we're finding out, everybody, anything you post reflects your views. So it's, I wish he could be here. Anyway, he has not checked in yet. The next question, we'll start with Terry and then go to Joe and John and back through. What are your thoughts on solar development, both rooftop and large scale? And I'm going to add a bit to that. I heard a couple years ago that here in the city, we have like 2% solar, rooftop solar. But if anybody knows the facts on that, you can add that to your answer. So we'll start with Terry Greiner.
I'm an advocate of solar. I do actually have a personal solar system, 38 panels, backup batteries, have 2 electric vehicles. So and I know how economical those are combined with a solar system and battery backup. I do think that solar on a commercial scale is very viable. I think that's been demonstrated over and over and over again. But it does bring me to an issue that I don't know if that's been addressed, and that is, as Brad mentioned, he was the co-owner of Canisto, but I believe he still is. And that's the company that put in the Sunnyside solar array. And they also now still have a maintain and manage contract with LPEA. So I do believe that's a conflict of interest, and that would make him very ineffective as a board of directors member, since he would have to be excluded from many solar topics or even renewable topics, since he's invested locally with LPEA on that. But to wrap that up, yes, I'm a large advocate of solar and other renewables. Again, everything has to be planned and designed efficiently in order to take into effect the land that these projects are put on. Got a stop sign. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Terry. Next is Joe Lewandowski.
Yes, absolutely. An advocate obviously has its challenges, as we know. We have moratorium in certain areas, mainly within the city of Durango. That's basically physics, and staff is working on that, and the board has said, look, you guys got to figure this out. So hopefully we're looking at batteries and ways to mitigate that and allow more solar. We're also, our hands have been tied by Tri-State again. A letter in the paper this Sunday, the writer said that we've got a lot of flexibility with Tri-State. We have no flexibility with Tri-State. We can only produce 5% of our power. So that has put us in a box, and as we move away from Tri-State, we are going to be able to be flexible and work in a lot of different ways.
Thank you, Joe. The next one would be John Witchel and then Dusty.
So, I mean, yes, I run a solar company, so I don't think I have to talk about that. I think the key here to pay attention to is not just that Tri-State limited our ability to build meaningful solar in the region. It directly impaired us, because every kilowatt hour above 5% that we produced, we had to pay a penalty to Tri-State for. So when you talk about wanting to run center pivots at a lower cost of energy, the way to do that is to build solar on your farm and on your ranch. You cannot do that with Tri-State, because it pushes all of the costs onto everybody else, and we have to pay all of those penalties. Today, you as a rancher and you as a farmer will be able to build large-scale solar on your property for your own personal consumption. And if you coordinate with LPEA, we would love to find a way to partner with you to be able to pay you for your land to build large-scale solar and generate lower cost of capital or lower cost of energy for all of our membership. This is a very exciting time in LPA's history, an opportunity for all of us to do better. And being hamstrung and limited by outsiders is exactly the opposite of where we should be focused.
Thank you, John. Dusty, you're next.
Thanks. That's a great lead in. I appreciate it. We're talking about solar for the farms. It does take a farm. It takes quite a bit of land. I know there was the Dolores project. I'd heard some members upset with just the location of it. So yeah, getting it local and in areas that we're not already trying to grow crops or that we already have would make visual impacts. It's pretty nice being out where I'm at. Feels like a beautiful, pristine area. So I'm hoping to keep it that way. Thoughts on solar development? Obviously, I mean, that's kind of like the direction the board has taken us, and you've heard, and that's pretty much the reason that we left Tri-State, was so that we can develop our own local solar. So it's a great technology. I think it gets better all the time. I'm looking forward to the day that it doesn't require so much mining and there's so much pollution from the disposal end of it. So I guess that kind of summarizes my stance on it. Thanks.
Thanks, Dusty. Holly.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, I don't believe solar was the primary reason that we did decide to exit Tri-State, but thank you for that thought. Anyhow, Colorado is well known for getting 300 plus days of solar sun every single year. So yes, I do believe that solar is beneficial for our area, whether it be in the commercial, the residential, the community garden sectors, especially if they have a battery backup and where it's possible. I know that's not completely feasible for a lot of folks, but I think that as we move in that direction and we have more batteries in our system, we will also have more resilience, electricity resilience in our area. Part of the reason for that, I think, is really important is our regional and national grid is getting faced with more wildfires, more floods, more wind events, and it's going to be more susceptible to a lot of those weather impacts. So therefore, yes, I also got an opportunity to go to Jack's Solar Farm. They do tours up there. It's up in Longmont, but they're showing that agrovoltaics will also provide shade for your livestock. It can provide better water efficiency for plants. The research going into that is really awesome, and I'm going to include a link for that particular entity in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Greg Barber.
Thanks, Karen. Yes, I'm an advocate of solar development, both rooftop and large scale. I have rooftop solar on my home, so very aware of that. But the area that I live in was redlined. Most of it was, so I am actually looking forward to the termination of the Tri-State Agreement in 2026, when that opens the flexibility up for us. So I'm a supporter of the large scale projects that the LPA has done and is looking at, but just remind everybody that's one tool in our toolbox. There's other renewables that we're looking at, and this would be one area that complements a whole portfolio of renewable energy products, and we have the flexibility to do it in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was a great round on that question. The next question is,
I don't think I got to answer that one.
oh my gosh, my little note taking is lacking. Brad, thank you for keeping it clean. Yeah, go ahead and answer the part about solar, and then we'll get to kind of a closing statement, personal reason question. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, I'm absolutely a big fan of rooftop solar. If you look at the area, we're going to be limited on that. We don't have any huge buildings that really make sense to do rooftop solar on, but it makes absolute sense to do that. I will remind everybody that solar is not without its environmental impacts. And when you go out and tear out a forest or a habitat area for thousands of acres of solar, it impacts the environment. And I have several articles here in front of me about how it has impacted negatively environmental issues even in Oregon, where they are very friendly towards solar. I think we need to be aware of that. Natural disasters were mentioned. We're not without natural disasters here. Just a couple of years ago, there was a hailstorm that damaged thousands of cars and buildings right near where a proposed site is in our county. And I do, in the end, believe that that LPEA may run up against the same thing as Tri-State, where they'll limit how much people can actually produce. They'll be in the position of limiting people's ability to produce their own solar or wind or other types of power. Thank you.
Okay. So our last question is, what's the personal reason you're running and what's your cause or focus for the next few years? So it's 1:13. I don't see any other questions in the chat from the audience. So I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes, and you can put that question into your closing statement, or you can take up to 2 minutes. Let's do it that way. And we'll start with Joe Lewandowski and move down from there.
Okay, thanks, Karen, for putting me in the hot seat. Excuse me. I don't think I'm going to need 2 minutes, but we're just at a point where we really need to start thinking differently about how we're doing things. A lot of the money that Tri-State owns is because they're having to shut down power plants, and those things have been shut down primarily because natural gas came in and took them over. And so again, by leaving Tri-State, we're paying our share, but we're not on the hook for another 4 years to pay for them to continue to decommission these coal plants. And I just think it's really symbolic that these things are closing and that we're moving ahead. I think there's a lot of innovation that can be done. And I agree that, yeah, we can't cover every farm field with solar panels, but there's a lot of things coming down the road. We have to be open to those. And if we stayed with Tri-State, we would not be able to be open to those. I'm doing this because I'm an old fart now, and I'm not going to be around to see a lot of these changes. But I want to get behind them while I'm still vertical on the planet. And thanks again for having me and setting up this forum.
Thanks, Joe. And next is John Witchel.
So my personal goal over the next couple of years in this term is pretty simple. This region used to be a net exporter of energy, and we used to make a fair amount of money in the form of taxes, but a fair amount of money from exporting the energy that we produced in this region. And there were some really nice things that came out of that. One of the nice things that I personally love is the community rec center. The rec center was basically built because with that money, I believe that we can be a net exporter of energy again. And I believe that the way that we're going to do it is with 300 days of sunshine and some exceptional opportunities with geothermal. And I believe that we can go from having reasonably inexpensive electricity, certainly relative to California and the East Coast, to actually paying our members a dividend. Renewable energy is growing at a rapid rate because it just makes economic sense. It's plain and simple. Fundamentally, I'm a capitalist. I believe that if you let the free market do its thing, it will find the right answer. And in this case, the right answer is going to be renewable energy in the form of batteries, solar, wind, and geothermal. And I believe that this community can benefit enormously if people start talking more frankly about that opportunity and stop spreading base lies around the negative consequences of solar, the idea that we're going to destroy cropland. That's an absurd statement on its face. All of the United States can be powered by solar energy with less land than the sum of our golf courses. Right? We're not mowing down any forests. We're not taking land out of food production for solar. Those are crazy things. And we have the opportunity to create a real benefit, a real economic windfall to our members if we continue on the path that we're on and stop letting people divert the conversation down falsehoods. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next is Dusty, and after Dusty, Holly, and then Greg and Brad and Terry. So I've got that all set up now. Dusty, go ahead.
Well, thanks again for the time. Just closing, I'd like to say that my personal reasons for running, I was approached to run. I think people felt that my qualifications matched what the board was going to need, especially in the energy transition. The goals that I would have would be to really bring to the table some of that expertise that I have around understanding the science of nuclear engineering, if that goes that way. Geothermal is huge. If we combine that with the directional drilling techniques that we've developed in the oil and gas industry, and sitting in an area like Pagosa where we have the biggest, deepest hot springs in the world, there's some serious projects that could really turn heads. We could be making the way here, setting the course. As far as, I didn't mean to imply that solar was going to take over farmland. My dichotomy is that I can either produce hay or I can, allocate some of that same property for solar, because everything I operate is farmland there. So that, I didn't mean to imply something ludicrous there. I agree with you, John. And Joe, thanks again for bringing up kind of, where we're headed, and that future is super critical to me. I've got 6 of my kids that are going to be living here, hopefully the rest of their lives, if we can keep this farm going. So those are the reasons I'm running. I really appreciate your vote, and we'll see. Hopefully we can get more than 10% of our county to respond this time. So thanks again.
Thanks, Dusty. Holly?
Great. What is my personal reason for running? I think it all boils down to community. I mean, this is the community I live in, and I have a business in, that I have raised my sons in, I grew up in. It all boils down to community. So I'd like to continue helping LPEA build that resilient and affordable pathway, which is ultimately building community. My focus for the next couple of years, I love cooperative principle number 5, and that's training and education for all people, for all of our members, for our staff, but it also includes letting them know what the challenges of our cooperative is. And so for me, I personally would like to go out and continue to help our membership understand how the grid works, how peak power works, how they can get rebates or adjust their use of time to be able to affect more positive change in their LPEA bill. And I would love to believe that we could be the next exporter of power, John. I believe it's possible. But it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of education, and it's going to take all of us being on board and being better participants in the whole process. So as we get more and more people on the planet, we're all going to have to be more aware of how we use our resources. So I'm really excited about where we're at. And I am really grateful for this forum today. And thank you to all of you for your time.
Thank you, Holly. Greg Barber.
Thank you, Karen. Personal reason for running. So as I went around the community, talked to some board members, some LPEA management, and some members of the co-op, my experience came through, and I really just want to help. I've spent 14 years with a large utility that has a lot of these types of issues, And with my background in finance and HR, member services, regulatory, those are all areas that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So for the co-op to keep it running in the future. Causes that I have for this, I think in talking with members, the biggest thing for me is affordability. We are in uncertain times. Tariffs, the grants, um, regulatory, there's just a lot of things going on, a lot of moving pieces that LPA management has to keep their eye on. And if I can help in any way to help them do that, I would like to get their to get your vote. One thing I did want to mention that I'm passionate about is safety, and nobody's really talked about it here, but communities rely on us to be safe. And we are in a dangerous business, and we need to be safe. But we also need to have our employees keep each other safe and have each other's back. And so we have a great safety record, and I'm just interested in continuing that. Thank you for the forum, Karen. I really appreciate the time, and I hope I get your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Greg. Next is Brad, and we'll finish with Terry.
Hi, thanks. And thanks again for this opportunity to discuss LPEA. LPEA is an excellent organization, excellent employees. They do a great job. I know many of the employees. I'm impressed with the work that they do. I just think that overall LPEA has really done a good job of providing service to our community, and I appreciate that. I do think that a couple of things that were mentioned earlier are important. We do need to think differently. I believe that power and power supply is going to change exponentially over the next couple of years. I think there are things coming that we don't even see. And I think that as a board member, I would be one to look to those opportunities. Geothermal is huge. I mean, I know I also have a ground source on my home along with the solar. Geothermal is an exceptional way to go, and I think that we should look to innovation, look to changes in the power that we're going to be able to see things happen here. I would hope to be a net or exporter of power. John mentioned that there's no forest being cut down and there's no farmland being torn out for solar. I drive to northern Montana a lot to visit one of my sons, and I can tell you that there are farms that are being torn up to put solar in. So it does happen. Environmentally, solar has some issues. Every course can have issues. They just have to be figured out and see how we can mitigate those. I look forward to being on the board and looking forward into the future to great opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And Terry Greiner, running for District 2.
Yes, I'm personally want to ensure that LPEA is in the position to maintain their current path to bring us reliable energy, which again I think they're on that path. I would like to see the use, again, as stated before, the use of the data that has been collected in order to provide management with the tools to make those decisions. Give them the flex. We now have the flexibility, having been separated from Tri-State. So can we use the information that we have in our own community to understand what are the best avenues to pursue? Is it solar? Is it wind? Is it some of the other technologies that we have talked about here? Again, my background I've worked with national, significant Fortune 100 multinational utilities and product suppliers. familiar that we need to monitor and manage and maintain our current infrastructure, but what will we do in order to enhance our systems, particularly for the middle mile and the last mile, in order to maintain, as I started, the reliability and the affordability of energy. And again, I do, Brad has not talked again about his conflict of interest owning Conista, or a co-owner of Conista, and having current contracts with LPEA. I don't understand, and maybe he can enlighten us, how he would be effective on the board when he has a significant conflict of interest with his ownership. I just don't understand how he could be effective. And I've got a stop sign. Thank you.
All right, Terry, thank you so much. I want to remind everybody that, and you know, it's 1:28, so I have a minute. We have ballots going out April 21st. And again, the deadline is May 20th at 4 p.m. And the big annual meeting, which I hope everybody comes to, is May 21st at the LPEA Truck Barn, I think it's called. So announcement, we have a food drive for local food pantries this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday, at Albertsons in South City. And as everybody might imagine, the need here is just growing. So there are quite a few local, in the whole, what would you call it? Tri-county area, I guess, we're covering. We have quite a few pantries to deal with. So please tell your friends and family about that. And then we have a couple of opportunities where our Colorado Attorney General, Phil Weiser, is showing up here. We have a meeting on Saturday, April 26th, Indivisible Durango. Phil Weiser will speak there, and he's also at the Dems fundraising dinner on the 26th that evening. Two opportunities to hear Phil Weiser. I want to thank you all for participating. It is incredible to hear the diversity of thought, which is, I wrote it down because I really like that phrase. Thank you so much. This will be recorded. And we have Ruben Schaefer on here from the Herald, so he's going to write it up, I'm sure. That'll be very welcome. So thank you very much for participating, and we'll talk to you guys all later.